Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. ونساء بابن يزيد قال كان النداء يوم الجمعة أول إذا جلس الإمام على المنبر على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأبي بكر وعمر فلما كان عثمان وكثر الناس زاد النداء الثالث على الزوراء. Sahib ibn Yazid, he says that the azan on the day of Jummah, the first of it was when the Imam would sit up on the mimbar in the time of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. So when it was the time of Usman radiallahu anhu and the people were many, then he increased the third azan at the place called Zawra. Right. So they're calling it the third azan, although it is the first azan. That's the one he introduced. You understand it? So he introduced the first azan, although it was he introduced actually the first azan that we're making. But in sequence, it's the third azan that actually got implemented. All right. So that is the first azan. You would make it at Zawra, right? And then the second would be obviously the one just before the khutbah, and the third azan they mean the takbir, iqama. You understand? So that's how it would be. 3 azans, right? So this azan that Usman radiallahu introduced, it is also sunnat because, and it's not a bidat, because of the hadith that alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa'i rashidin. Must also follow the sunnah of my khulafa'i rashidin. Right, and the ulama have also written that when the first azan takes place, that's the time already you must stop buying, selling, and any other action which obstructs your moving towards Jummah. Right. And Jabir ibn Samurata qala kanat lin Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam khutbatan yashrizu bainahuma yaqra'u al-Qur'ana wa yudhakkiru an-nasa fa kanat salatu qasdan wa khutbatuhu qasdan, rawahu Muslim. Jabir ibn Samurah, he said there was for Nabi Akram some 2 khutbahs which he would sit between them. He would recite Quran and remind the people. So his salah was average. In other words, it was not too long, not too short, right? And his khutbah was also average, not too long, not too short. Nabi Karim Sallallahu he would sit that amount of time between the 2 khutbahs that every limb would be, in other words, you'd be sitting at ease. Therefore, the fuqaha said that when you sit, you must sit as long as 3 subhanallahs, right? The sitting between the khutbahs, it's not wajib, it is sunnat. And it is not established that you would make any special dua when sitting between these 2 khutbahs, right? عن عمار رضي الله عنه سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن طول صلاة الرجل وقصر خطبته مئنة من فقهه فأطيلوا الصلاة وقصروا الخطبة وإن من البيان سحرا, رواه Muslim. Ammar رضي الله said, Nabi Karim say, indeed the lengthiness of the salat of a man and the shortness of his khutbah is a sign of his fiqh, right? So lengthen the salah and shorten the khutbah. And indeed in the bayan there is sihr, right? In bayan there is the ability to affect a person, right? And therefore you find now, especially if a person is a good speaker, if he's a good speaker, then the people also think, oh, this man is pious. Doesn't necessarily mean if he's a good speaker, he's pious. But the people will think and they will be drawn to him, right? So we find in khutbah a person's attention is towards the person delivering the khutbah, right? But whereas in salah, the person's intention is supposed to be towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore it's better to have a longer salah, because then more time will be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and less time, you understand, more time will be towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because a person now is longer in salah. And the khutbah is shorter, so less time will be towards makhluk. Right. So indeed from bayan, there's sihr, in other words, just as firstly, you're told to make the khutbah shorter, right? So the khutbah being shorter is the khutbah having such words which are jami', which has lots of meaning. Little bit words, lots of meaning in your khutbah. So if that's the case, then it's just then that will have a good effect. Just like how these people who do sihr and jadoo, they use a few words, but they have heavy effect. You understand? Few bad words they use, and it has heavy effect on a person. Likewise here also, you use a few words in a khutbah and you have a heavy effect. وعن جابر رضي الله قال كان رسول الله إذا خطب احتمرت عيناه وعلى صوته واشتد غضبه حتى كأنه منذر جيش يقول سبحكم ومساكم ويقول بعثت أنا والساعة كهاتين ويقرن بين إصبعيه السبابة والوسطى رواه مسلم. Imam Jabir said Nabi Akram when he used to make khutbah, then his eyes would become red and his voice would be raised and his anger would be severe. So as though he was warning the army, and he would say that they're going to attack you in the morning, they're going to attack you in the evening, and he would say, I've been sent, and I in Qiyamah is like this. And then he joins between his his two fingers, that is his index finger and his middle finger. Right. So Nabi Kareem Sallallahu looking at the tajalli of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and looking at the shortfall of the ummah, his eyes become red, right? And then also having this fikr and worry about the ummah, and so that his voice can reach, they can all hear properly the message, his voice would also become loud, right? And also looking at the shortfall of the ummah, and they're not making amal, he would also now show in anger. So nevertheless, it's just like how a person now who is warning his army, and his army is in the condition of neglect and unmindfulness. Now you need to warn them. So when you're warning them, you're going to shout them now, because it's not their lives are at stake. So they can't take it lightly. So therefore you show your anger in it, trying to wake them up from that unmindfulness that the enemy is going to attack at any time. Likewise in the khutbah also, you would now warn them of the akhirat. So in Qiyamah being as close like there's two fingers, you join the two fingers here, it is close, it shows that Qiyamah is very near. Right. When Ya'la ibn Umayyah قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ على المنبر ونادوا يا مالك ليقضي علينا ربك. Therefore, Ya'la ibn Umayyah said Nabi Akram reciting on the minbar this ayat here, and they called, "Oh Malik, let your Rabb decree death for us. Decree death for us." So this is now an ayat where the Jahannam is, right? They are begging the angels in charge of the door of Jahannam, right? And they would tell him that he must ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them death. So they can be finished now. They don't have to. So and he would answer, Innakum makithun, that you have to stay in here now. You're not going to get death, but rather you're going to stay alive in here. وَأُمِّ هشام بنت حارثة ابن النعمان قالت ما أخذت قاف والقرآن المجيد إلا عن لسان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ كل جمعة على المنبر إذا خطب الناس رواه مسلم. The mother of Hisham, the daughter of Harith ibn Nu'man, she said that I did not learn Qaf al-Quran al-Majid, that surah, Qaf al-Quran al-Majid, right? Except from the tongue of Nabi Karim. He used to recite it every Jummah on the minbar when he would address the people. Now, because ulama say it's not sabit anywhere that Nabi Karim recited the full surah in the khutbah. So what it means is that every week Nabi Karim would recite different ayats of Surah Qaf, and that's how she learned it, right? When Amr ibn Hurayth رجل أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خطب وعليه أمامة سوداء قد أرخى طرفيها بين كتفيه يوم الجمعة رواه مسلم. Amr ibn Hurayth, he said Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam khutbah, and upon him was a black turban, and he had let loose its two sides between his shoulder blades on the day of Jummah. right at the back, right. In one weak hadith, it is said that if you recite Salah with the Imam, then you get your Salah is 70 times better. Right. Nevertheless, what we learn from this is that a person should adorn himself for Jummah, right? And putting a black turban and then letting the two portions of the black turban hang between the shoulders. This is also sunnah. And they say this khutbah that's mentioned, referred to here, is in Maraz Maut. From here, Zailai Rahmatullahi says to use black clothes is also sunnah. One hadith explains that Nabi Akram Sam's amama was 7 hand spans. And there were many Sahaba Ikram and Tabi'in who also used black turbans, right? Ammar bin Yasir, Anas bin Malik, Hazrat Muawiyah, Abu Darda, Hazrat Baraz, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, right? Imam Nawawi Rahmatullahi said to tie the amama in both ways is jais. One is with a shamla, with a like hanging piece, and without the shamla. Both ways are permissible, right? عن جابر رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ويخطب إذا جاء أحدكم يوم الجمعة والإمام يخطب فليركع ركعتين وليتجوز فيهما رواه مسلم. Neighbors of Jabir رضي الله عنه, Nabi Akram says, whilst he was giving khutbah, that when one of you come on the day of Jummah and the Imam is giving khutbah, then he should make 2 rakats and he should make it quick, short 2 rakats. Imam Shafi Rahmatullahi and Imam Ahmad Rahmatullahi, they say this is referring to Tahiyatul Masjid. Because according to them, Tahiyatul Masjid is wajib and you must read it even if the Imam is reading khutbah. According to Ahnaf, they say that when you come into the masjid, then Tahiyatul Masjid is mustahab. But if the Imam is reading khutbah, then you don't read Tahiyatul Masjid. And that's also the call of Imam Malik. And they give an answer to this hadith in saying, yeah, when he's making khutbah, he intends to make khutbah. He didn't just start the khutbah. Right, that's the one. Because there are many hadiths that shows that you don't, that when إذا خرج الإمام فلا صلاة ولا كلام. You understand it? There's no salat at that time when the Imam comes out. So they say the other answer they give you, they said this was allowed, initially this was allowed, that you could make salah while the khutbah was given, and after it was prohibited. Or it was that it was only special for this one person here. And some say it was actually before the starting of the khutbah. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أدرك ركعة من الصلاة مع الإمام فقد أدرك الصلاة متفق عليه. And Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, Nabi Akram says, whoever got 1 rakat of the salah with the Imam, then he has got the salah. So this hukam is am for all the salahs and not only special for Jummah, right? Nevertheless, when it comes to Ahnaf, that is written there, that according to, as long as a person got any portion of the Jummah Salah, then even at the end you got the Jummah Salah, then you will continue Jummah. You'll make the 2 rakats. If you got it right at the end, you shall make you finish it as Jummah, which is 2 rakats. Right, and because of the hadith, ma adraktum fasallu, whatever you got, then make salah. Wa ma fatakum faqdu, and whatever you must, then make qaza of it. So that is am for Jummah and all the salahs, right? However, Imam Muhammad rahmatullah alayhi, right, he says that if a person must most of the 2nd rakat, then he must build not Jummah, but rather he must build Zohar on that, right? So it means you must make 4 rakats. And how do you must most of the 2nd rakat is when you must the ruku of the 2nd rakat. then you must mos. So he say now you can't continue Juma, you must continue Zohar. Okay, leave it till